For many people, the COVID-19 pandemic has passed and is not given much thought or news coverage. Yet there's a growing number of people who have reported symptoms that have never left them. Many of them have had these symptoms for years. The Office of National Statistics estimates that over 2 million Britons have long COVID. You may have it, or you may know someone who is struggling with it. My name is Paul, and I've been debilitated by long COVID since January 22. In this podcast, I'm going to share my journey and things I've experienced along the way. My aim is not to give medical advice. I'm certainly not qualified to do that. But I've been gaslit, ridiculed and dismissed for my symptoms, and I know it can be a very lonely place to be. It's an invisible illness, and I just want people to know that they're not alone. Welcome to a new episode of A Life with Long COVID. I don't ever introduce myself, so I'm going to introduce myself and be all professional this time. My name is Paul Clark. I am the host of this podcast and the person with long COVID. And I'd like to introduce you to
Rachel Clark.
And you are here in your capacity as
the wife of someone with long COVID.
Absolutely. Every now and then, if you've listened to previous episodes, you'll know that Rachel joins me sometimes. Some would say they're better episodes. Some would say not. So, you know, I obviously say they're better, Rachel.
It's up to you, the listener.
Indeed. But I do think it brings out something extra, which is your experience of, this illness, which I don't want it to define our lives, but but kind of does consequentially in some ways. But we'll talk about that a bit later on. So today's episode is, well, you can see the title of it. I haven't actually decided as I record what the title is, but I know what it's going to be about because I've had a bit of a tough week, really. And I've had a tough week around social media to the point where earlier this week, I completely disabled my Facebook page, my Instagram account, and my Threads account. Threads being a new and trendy version of Twitter or X or whatever it is. And the reason for that is because I had some comments. Now, again, regular listeners will know that I've been a vicar for the last 12 years. And at the beginning of this month, I officially retired through ill health due to long COVID. But it was fed back to me that people have been commenting that on my Facebook page, I keep posting that I'm out. That would be at football or out with family, I suppose. Generally having a good time. And the under kind of belly of that is, of course, that somebody who is retiring through ill health shouldn't be enjoying life. I can't think of it in any other way. Yeah. Or am I being unfair, Rachel?
Well, obviously, I am absolutely enraged. Paul sent me a text and I sent him back that really angry emoji.
You did. You only reserve that emoji when I'm in trouble or when something's angered you about me.
Yeah, the emoji, the anger emoji with his mouth covered, like sort of saying swear words, I guess.
Yeah.
I was so cross. I mean, I was livid. Steam was coming out of my ears. I wasn't with you when you sent me this message.
No.
So, which was quite good because I think I might have had something to say. I think I would have gone on a rant. I was so cross.
So I'm not going to go into detail because it's unfair on the people involved, but I heard this on my own. And when the person told me this, you know when someone tells you something, you genuinely don't know what to say?
Yeah.
You're like completely like, because cognitively I'm a bit slower due to the long COVID. When somebody comes and talks to me out the blue about something, it takes me longer to process it, right? And on this occasion, you know, they talked about my Facebook page And the conversation was like, well, you know, have you seen your Facebook page? And I was like, well, yeah, because I posted on it myself. And I was expecting them to say, oh, you posted something really controversial, and I kept waiting and nothing was coming.
No.
And it was simply because I seemed to be going out a lot. And at the time I wasn't upset, I was bemused.
Yeah.
But then it got under my skin, and days went by, and in the end, I got really upset by it. And as I say, I disabled my social media accounts because I don't want it's people judging you.
Yeah.
That's what really gets me. And partly it's because what I post on social media, I don't post every day, oh, I'm really struggling today, because I don't want to be defined by this illness. So like everybody, I post a kind of rosy image of it. And then I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should post warts and all. And then I thought, I could post whatever the hell I want.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares? Like, I mean, really, who cares? And if people do care, they shouldn't.
No.
Really, they don't. They haven't been listening to the podcast, and they haven't been really doing any serious research into what it means to have a chronic illness.
No. I think what made me so angry was because you do a lot less than you want to do. It's not like you're out going skateboarding. I don't know. That was the first thing that came to mind.
That's what I'd be doing, right? I'm
yeah.
so cool.
I mean, last time I did the podcast with you, I talked about doing table tennis with our son and daughter, and you were like, we thought, oh, we might put a chair out to play, for you to play table tennis, which is ridiculous. And a lot of what you post is at football.
Yeah,
okay.
Most of what I post.
And that is a thing you can do with our youngest son and daughter. They both love football, and sometimes it's away games, and sometimes you go on a bus, sitting on a bus to an away game. Then you get out of the bus and get on your mobility scooter, and then you scoot to your seat, and then you stay sitting in the scooter, don't you?
Yeah, I don't move from it. No,
and then one our son or daughter sitting with you, and all that time on the bus, that's like quality time. And he, Paul misses out going swimming with them, doing other things with them, and that is something he can do. It's so lovely. So yeah, he did go to Southampton or whatever it was.
I have to say that when I go to away games with and I could start reviewing Premier Football League away games at the moment as far as disability.
New podcast, Paul.
Yeah. It's only made possible because of the team we support, Ipswich Town Football Club, because they, for home games, have been so accommodating. Yeah. We started the season last year sitting up in a top tier, and this is my, as I chart my long COVID journey, I gradually had to come to a realisation that I can't get up those stairs, or if I could, it would exhaust me. So they kindly now allow me to use my wheelchair or my scooter in the wheelchair area. Yeah. And then it took some time for me to realise, actually, this is me. I haven't got a temporary condition. This is me. Yeah. But what I was going to say is that I do go to the away games are made possible because of the hospitality of the away teams, but also because one of my teenage children, of which I try to take at least one, and spend some quality time with them, which I don't get normally. They have to be my companion, and being my companion means they have to help me out. There's situations where they have to be responsible and help me out.
Like, so if you want coffee or...
It's not like they're there on a freebie.
No, they have to go and get the coffee.
And they have to go through all these massive crowds of grown-ups swigging beer, singing, and it's quite intimidating. But if I need help, getting to the toilet, or they have to go and get me a sausage roll or whatever, they have to be the ones that do that, because I can't do it very easily at all. No. And they have to be moral support as well. Yeah. And so if you ask them, they might say sometimes it's not very bonding at all, because they have to do a lot to help. But but for me, it's still a lifeline, because without it, I wouldn't get out that much.
No.
I wouldn't get that much.
And as a couple, we're trying to go to more comedy gigs, aren't we?
Yeah, because we love comedy.
But again, that's something you do sitting down.
Yeah, and again, but it's not easy because, like, you have to plan it. So, so, and you'll know this with a chronic condition. Like today, for example, we decided, we were spontaneous today, and we thought we're going to take our teenagers out for lunch. And this is because it's been a very hectic half term. Our oldest daughter has been in hospital again, which has been awful, and has required me to be in hospital every day. And we thought, well, let's spend some time with
and me in the
teenagers,
afternoon.
and you in the afternoon. I didn't mean to exclude you from that. And it's because I was going to talk about mobility aids getting there, but so we just spontaneously thought, go to lunch. However, I cannot just say, let's go, let's head into town and see what happens, because I've got a plan for it, right? I've got to make sure it's, do I need which mobility aid do I need? How are we going to get, from the car to there? Yeah. When I get to the restaurant, I noticed this the other day. I went to a busy restaurant with my scooter, and I couldn't park the scooter outside. There's no room. There's no room inside. I don't want to drive it into the busy restaurant. It was a nightmare. It really was. So I ended up with the buggy park, like parked up with all the prams and stuff. Kind of works. But yeah, so it's not... I don't do these things sometimes because it just takes energy, and I haven't got the energy to organise it, to be honest with you, and think about it and deal with it.
No.
So if people realised what people with chronic illnesses had to go through to get to these things, I think they will be less quick to judge other people. And the thing is, social media it's kind of all about judging, and I'm conflicted because I think I'm getting to the point where I don't really like social media because it's kind of, we scroll through looking at other people's posts, and inevitably we make some sort of judgment upon it, don't we?
Yeah.
Whether I wish I was doing what they're doing, or why are they doing that, or am I being unfair?
I think it's almost built to be judging. Facebook was built for who should you be with, wasn't it? It was like a college thing, yeah.
Like university dating thing or something?
Yeah, I remember it was really random because we were just married when it sort of really came out.
Yeah.
And it was like, who do you want to be with? And we're like, with my new husband.
yeah. Thank you. yeah. I'm with him.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I think it's sort of built on the premise of judging. I think Twitter was less judging, but obviously it's got its own problems now. I think you're right. I think everyone says that, doesn't it? On Instagram, it's very, you put a picture up, you're making a statement, aren't you?
Yeah, you are. And it goes back to, I think, how I started, which is not wanting to be defined by an illness. So I don't want... I respect people who use their Facebook pages or their Instagram pages to promote, awareness of long COVID. But I have other pages. I have Life with Long COVID Facebook page. I have a Life with Long COVID Instagram page, which, by the way, you can go visit if you want and like it. So I tend not to do that on my own Facebook page. And I do that because I want some kind of a normal life.
You don't want to be Paul, the guy with a chronic illness.
No.
You want to just be Paul.
I want to be Paul. And I've lost so much. To be fair,
for the last 12 years, you were Reverend Paul.
And this is the thing. I think long COVID has robbed me of so much of my identity. And a big part of my identity was a vicar, and that's gone now. And, I'm obviously sad about that. And but I don't want to lose everything. Like, I don't want to lose who Paul is.
No.
And, it's forced me to get to this crossroads where I need to decide what I'm going to do next. And there's not very much I can do. It's quite sober, really.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because I'm hoping people listening can identify with it and think, well, actually, I'm not the only one.
Yeah. But my mother's fury is that one of your most important roles is Paul the dad, and people have basically criticised you for that.
Yeah.
Going out with your children, because if you put pictures with you and your children, like you and one of our kids, like in Brighton or whatever.
Like I should be instead in bed 24/7.
Yeah, and sometimes people with long COVID are in bed.
This is true.
And gosh, they've got to do whatever they could do for their mental health, like whatever it is they're doing, like reading or watching TV if they can.
I mean, yeah, literally.
Do the little things they can do.
And that's the thing you get, like doing a podcast like this and speaking out about your ill health. You get a kind of imposter syndrome. So that it's a common thing, and I felt this more or less every other month. I think, who am I to talk about my illness when there's people worse than me?
Yeah.
And it's a fair comment, isn't it? And you may feel that listening to this, that who am I to talk about my illness? There's a lot of people worse than this. But if you don't talk, no one's going to understand how it feels to live with this illness. And look, celebrities are doing it now. And I spoke on my last episode about Miranda's book. Yeah. I've nearly finished that now. I heartily endorsed it last time, and I still do. The more books like that, the better. Yeah. You know, she's using her celebrity for good, and she talks very candidly about chronic illness. But maybe we'll do an episode on good books to recommend at some point. That'd be good to get you involved in that as well.
Yeah, but I've never known so much. I've never felt so much for you, or as you know, as the spouse of someone with long COVID, as it being an invisible illness.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. You know, sometimes people have cancer, don't they? And that's terrible. And a lot of us know someone or have cancer or whatever. And we've had family members with cancer, haven't we? But they still like they're allowed to go out, if you know what I mean.
And there's a societal expectation about, and they'll say, "Well done, you got out. Well done because you've got cancer." And absolutely well done. Anyone, take my hats off, who manages to do anything, going through cancer treatment.
Of course.
But there isn't the same level of awareness about chronic illness. No. I don't think.
That's what I think I'm trying to say about that. Yeah. It's an invisible. People don't see it, and because they don't see it, they judge it, and then they judge you going to Southampton away game or wherever, Brighton or wherever
with
you
my
were.
mobility aids, with my poor teenage children dragged along, getting me sausage rolls and everything else.
I'm sorry for saying Southampton, because they're not even in the Premier League, are they?
I don't know if I went to Southampton anyway.
Brighton.
Sorry.
Somewhere down south.
And we're having a great time. Following our local team who were in the Premier League for the first time in ages.
Ipswich Town.
Yeah, it's been good, and it's a bit of joy. And for 90 minutes watching that football, I don't think about anything else.
No.
Nothing else at all.
I love it.
Really,
even though
good.
We lose or draw every time.
Doesn't matter. I'm consumed with watching it. Yeah. Now, I did promise last week, or last episode, that we would cover some messages in an interlude, but I thought rather than having an interlude, I changed my mind famously because I needed to rant. So now I've ranted. Maybe we can cover a couple of messages that came in response to previous episodes. And I think the first message is in response to me, the episode before last, talking about how I felt a bit awkward wearing masks and everyone's looking at you.
Yeah. So someone said, I generally go shopping late at night when the kids are in bed. Over the last few months, I've noticed often there are couples or individuals shopping with masks on. Late at night is a good time to shop to avoid crowds. My local co-op is spacious and quiet in the evenings, and staff are sensitive to social distancing when they see mask wearers. A few choose to still mask up themselves at the checkout when serving customers wearing masks, which is double security, I suppose. It would be great if this happened everywhere. No one should ever be made to feel fearful of wearing a mask in public. I don't have long COVID or have any vulnerable condition, but I do have the ability to wait a few seconds for others to move on before grabbing a loaf of bread off the shelf. Common courtesy isn't difficult. If you are made to feel uncomfortable for wearing a mask, know that your actions may just have saved someone else from contracting a debilitating illness. You're a hero. And that's Stuart from Cambridge.
Thank you so much, Stuart. Oh, what a lovely message. Absolutely. He's right, though. Like, when the pandemic was ongoing and the whole wear mask things was enforced, people were very kind and considerate. And he's right. Like at the bread counter or something, you wouldn't get people crowding around. People would wait respectfully until someone gone. And the key part was when the mask wearing wasn't compulsory anymore, and things started to return to normal. But the older generation was still wearing masks. I would say in general, sort of someone who was ill, and there were lots of us that wasn't. And then you had to. For me, it was spotting those people and just giving them that respectful distance when you're in the shop, because they don't want you crowding around you.
No.
I've got some masks. I keep forgetting to wear them. I should wear masks because I don't want to get COVID again for the 4th time. And I don't want to spread it around either.
No.
I'll talk. It's very good, Stuart, because that was in response to a whole episode I did where I said I was in fear of wearing a mask because everyone looks at you like you're some sort of weirdo these days.
They assume you've got COVID and that's why
I
you're wearing a mask.
I sound pretty spineless, don't I? I don't want disparaging looks. But it does, like when you're sticking out already by using a wheelchair or a scooter, to wear a mask is like this extra thing. But I'm doing it. I don't care. I'm doing it, Rach.
Do it.
I'm empowered. Thank you, Stuart. And there was one more I wanted to touch upon as well. Do you want me to call that up for you, Rach?
This says, your episode on work really resonates. I'm a Christian and unable to attend church, but am able to join some things online, off screen from my bed. I was a teacher before I got ill. I tested positive 3 years ago tomorrow, actually, and have not been able to work since. I was dismissed on capability after 2.5 years. It's very rare for teachers to be granted ill health retirement. Teachers' pensions are telling people there is evidence recovery will come with time. While we, of course, hope this is true, it seems like a tactic to avoid paying out. The loss of not working is great. It was my vocation too. The isolation is hard. But I'm just not well enough, spending a good deal of each day, every day, lying flat in bed. Oh, bless you.
No name?
No.
Thank you so much for your message. It was the first thing I'll say. I am shocked by that.
Yeah.
Can I just say, one of the professions that were heroes of the pandemic, in addition to the nurses and doctors and that were working on the front line,
and
is
grocery staff.
Teachers.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't get a break.
No.
They had to work right the way through. I have parenting teens. I heard poor teachers trying to deliver lessons over Zoom or Skype and really struggling with both the technology and doing it.
And they had to do online and in person as well.
Yeah.
At the same time.
And then they went back to in person. Loads of teachers got long COVID. And it's been made impossible for them to do what I did, which is to retire on the Ill Health grounds. I think that is disgusting. Or I'm going to swear and say bloody disgusting, because it is.
But also the energy that a teacher needs. Of course, if you've got a chronic illness, you probably could maybe do another job like online, a bit of admin. But you know what I mean? You can't be a teacher. There's so much energy involved in that.
It's not the job where you can have a low day.
No.
Is it?
No.
The brief times when I've took classes through my role as a vicar, I have been amazed about the level that you need to hold a class and to be aware of all that's going on.
Yeah.
I was exhausted.
There's so many skills. There's classroom management, there's the actual teaching, and there's like the pastoral care of the children. Oh, just so much going on at once.
But to be off for nearly 3 years, to have to be dismissed through capability proceedings, and then be told that, well, maybe they'll find a cure for it one day. Like, this is nearly 3 years this person's had long COVID. One day's not good enough.
No.
I'm sorry, it's not. And this is what I stress throughout my own ill health proceedings, is that we don't know if there'll ever be a cure for long COVID, but we do know the probability based on the length of time that you've had those symptoms.
Yeah.
And the probability is, and they say this with ME, CFS as well, that if you've had the symptoms for 2 years or more, it is likely that that's not going to go away.
No. But there might be times you get better, And there might be times you get worse.
Yeah.
Because I've counselled people.
But your
with
baseline
CFS.
will never be the same.
No.
Ever. And that helps me come to terms with it. But they should look at this for teachers' pensions. They really should. I mean, it leaves all of the teachers that went through the front line like that in complete limbo.
So it's heartbreaking, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So look, and the other aspect to the message, which really resonated with me, was the spiritual aspect. And we don't talk about this a lot on this podcast. I respect people of any faith and none, but to be a Christian and not be able to attend your local church, right, is hard. And yes, you can go to online church. There's loads of resources these days online. It is not the same.
No.
It's not the same as standing in a room worshipping with other people. It really isn't. And so my heart goes out to you for that as well. And all I can say is that you're not alone. And I'm glad you don't feel alone, that you've listened to that episode and it's resonated with you. So thank you for joining me for this episode, Rachel. It's kind of like a double episode. It's like a rant followed by messages.
Yes.
I say always, the last few episodes I have tried to sum things up by saying there are ways that you can help me with this podcast, and one of the ways is financially, because it costs us to host this all these episodes. And if you are able to help with that, there's a link in the show notes where you can give a couple of pounds or a few dollars a month to help. But if you can't do that, move on. It's fine. And the other thing I was going to say is that, just like the messages we read out, there are more that I'll read out in the next episode. I absolutely love to hear from you. Honestly, it just makes everything worthwhile to know. I know people are listening because I see the download numbers. There's lots of people listening, but to hear from people is fantastic.
It's another way people can help by following on podcast channels.
You're good at this, aren't you?
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, you can follow me on whatever platform that you listen to your podcast on, which would be Spotify or Apple, or even through the web. I think you can do it. Yeah, you can. You can also go on to social media. I'm not deactivated anymore. I've got my confidence back. I've had my rant. I'm back on Facebook, both personally and with the Life of Long COVID. So you can find Life of Long COVID, search there, search on Instagram. So, again, thank you for joining with me, Rachel, for this episode. And thank you for listening. And I will see you again on the next episode.